few different ways to store relationships online. You've had social networks. The map on the left there sort of is designed to show where different social networks are popular. And if you notice, each country just about has its own color, which means that social networks aren't going in having a lot of popularity across the entire world. So it's still fragmented. If I use a social network in the United States, it's going to be a different social network than the one that you use here in China. So it's not getting us closer to a world where I can go and interact with people that I know all over the world, which is what the internet's really good about. You have FOAF, which is a way to store relationships in sort of a separate XML file and discover that from a URL. And then XFN, which I showed, which allows you to go and sort of add that directly into your own HTML to describe who you know. So one of the services that came out from Google a few months ago was a technology called the Social Graph API. And what it does is it goes and parses all of the XFN connections and all of the FOAF connections that exist on the internet. So you can do some interesting things with this. And this is live on the internet. So code.google.com/API/socialgraph API. And I'll go and show you one of the example applications right there. And this was created by Brad Fitzpatrick, who also created OpenID. And so sort of showing on top of that. So what I'm able to do is go and start out right here and put in my URL. Which, if you remember, I showed you that it uses XFN to link to my other profiles on the web. So what happens when I hit Find Connections is that it goes and takes the information that Google has already parsed from their crawlers around the web and shows that from my website, I link to my LiveJournal, I link to my account on Vox, to my account on Dig, to Magnolia, to Twitter, to Flickr, to all of these different places. So what this API does is it allows you, when you're creating an application, to now, when a user signs in with an OpenID, start to discover where else they are. So if you're creating an application which interacts with photos, or interacts with Twitter, or interacts with any of these other services, instead of starting out by having to ask that user, where are your other accounts, you're able to start discovering some of that information. Able to start making this a little bit more fluid on the web. The second thing that you're able to do with it is ask the API, ask Google, who are a user's friends. So what this will do is it will go and start with my website, then go and look at all the different sites I use, and then tell you in a programmatic way what other people I know. So this is going and listing all of my friends on LiveJournal right there, on Vox, on Magnolia, on Twitter. Here are all the people I follow. Sort of the arrows show that that it's a mutual relationship. So I follow them and they follow me back, versus the accounts where they're not following me. So being able to get some of this information which you want when you're building a social application without having to go and start out by asking a user for that information.